Hi everybody, today I'm finally going to share the story of how I gave birth to baby Star, everything that happened at the hospital, which was 2 years and 2 months ago when I was 48, and I know many of you have been asking me for this story, and I'm finally filming it now. I'm going to share this story with you in detail, so it's probably going to be a long video, and I will probably cry at some point in it. I am now 23 and a half weeks pregnant. I'm drenched with sweat right now because it's boiling hot out here, but I have to shoot now while my baby is asleep because this is the only time I can shoot. So for those of you who don't know me, hello, I'm TJ. I had my little girl who we call Baby Star at age 48. She's an absolute miracle. She was created through donor sperm and donor eggs, and I was just incredibly blessed to have her. 3 weeks ago, I made a video where I shared all the reasons why I decided to have a planned gentle cesarean. And there were lots of reasons, lots of factors for that decision. So I have shared all of that in this video here. So watch that. I'm going to continue now at the point I left off in that video. Okay, so here goes. So the cesarean was planned, a gentle cesarean with my amazing doctor in a place which is an hour and a quarter south of here by car. So the previous week, I think it was the Wednesday, about 5 days before the cesarean was planned, I went in with my father, who had come to visit me from my home city. He'd come for the 2 weeks leading up to the birth, which was fantastic because I really wasn't well enough to drive. I mean, I could have driven, but, I had a giant belly and it was really hot. It was like it is now. It was stinking hot and unbelievably humid, and it's so exhausting being pregnant in this weather. I can't tell you. It's like everything feels 10 degrees hotter in Celsius, 10 degrees hotter than normal. So it's like, anyway, so the plan was to visit my obstetrician, to meet the anaesthetist, to meet the whole team, to go to the hospital, to see the birthing center, the whole thing. So we had this huge day. They scanned the baby. They told me the baby was still looking like it was going to be enormous. And I was also on insulin for gestational diabetes. There's some of the reasons why I decided to have a cesarean, not a natural birth. Anyway, but the scan went well. Everything was looking good. I met the anaesthetist. He was this kind of stodgy old man, but he seemed nice enough. But he wasn't really like my kind of people. And I was like, he's my anaesthetist, but that's okay. He knows what he's doing. That's what counts. I met some of the team. I liked the hospital. I was happy with it. But it was a very long, very hot day. There's a reason I'm telling you about this day in detail. Just bear with me. After this huge day when I'm 38 weeks pregnant in boiling hot weather, we then, I don't know why we did this that night, but on the way home, it's an hour and a quarter drive back. On the way home, we stopped at this friend of mine who has a tree farm, because I had decided in my head that I wanted to choose a tree, a baby tree that was going to be planted a few days after my daughter was born. The vision was the tree would be planted and the placenta would be planted under the tree, and this tree would grow as my daughter grows and they would grow up together. So it was a beautiful idea, but it was a stupid thing to do at 38 weeks pregnant. So we were trekking around this giant tree farm for a couple of hours in this boiling hot weather. I finally chose a beautiful species of tree called a kauri pine, and we reserved that tree, and that was it. Then we went home, and I was like absolutely exhausted. It was like 8 p.m. at dinner and everything, and then it was really late, and I was thinking I should go to bed. I've had so many late nights. I'm having a cesarean in 5 days. I really should go to bed. But then I had to do this thing where you have to express colostrum before you give birth in like the couple of weeks beforehand, just in case the baby has jaundice or the baby needs some colostrum. It's like liquid gold. So there's me. I finally got everything ready. I finally got to bed. It was midnight or 11:30 at night. I'm expressing colostrum. I'm playing my birthing playlist. I put together this cesarean playlist of 10 songs. I was finalizing the playlist, spending an hour to get like one drop of colostrum. It's so hard to get any colostrum. One drop. Anyway, it's midnight. I'm finally getting ready to go to bed. I go to the bathroom and suddenly there's this gush of water. It's like in a movie. It's like, it's breaking, but I'm not having my cesarean for another 5 days. What is happening? It was so surreal. It was like, I think it was 12:30 midnight, exactly, like half an hour after midnight. Everyone else was asleep. So the other people in my house at the time was my dad was asleep down the other end of the house, my 78-year-old dad, and my flatmate, he's not living here now, but he was living here then. He was a close friend of mine, but he's a dude in his early 30s. He's got no idea about babies, so he would have been completely freaked out. So I'm sitting there on the toilet, feeling quite sick, I felt like I had period cramps. Like when I have period cramps, my body goes into elimination mode. So I was like on the toilet, like I had my period cramps, eliminating stuff from my body, and there's a gush of water. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? Middle of the night. And I think I went back to sleep for a bit thinking, oh, maybe it'll stop and it'll be okay. And then I got up again and more water gushed out. And I was like, okay. So the first thing I'm doing is I've got to clean up this water because it looks like I'm going into labor and I'm going to be going to the hospital tonight. So I don't want to come home to an entire bathroom filled with water as a solo mum with a newborn. I wasn't going to ask my 30-year-old flatmate to clean it up. So I'm lying there, I'm on the floor, cleaning up with towels, all this water, thinking I should call a midwife, I should call the hospital, I should do something. Anyway, it was very hilarious when I look back at it. So then I laid down for a while, and then I think about 1:30, I'm back on the toilet again, feeling like I have period cramps. I call my midwife. I thought, shit, I don't want to wake her up at 1:30 in the morning, but this is her job. This is what she's paid for. She's a private midwife. I'm sure she's had calls like this before. I'm just going to call. If she's asleep, she won't answer. She answers straight away. She's obviously on call. She knows her clients when they're at the end of their pregnancy has to be on call. So she answered. She said, it's okay. Your water has broken. You do need to go to the hospital. Call the hospital. I'm like, okay. So I go back in bed. I call the hospital. They say, it's okay. No need to come tonight. Come first thing in the morning. Just try and get some sleep. Take some basic Panadol, which I think in America you call Tylenol, basic painkiller. Take that, go to sleep, get some rest, you're going to need it, come in first thing in the morning. So I'm like, okay. So I go back to bed. I'm taking Panadol, it's not making any difference. Like, I get really bad period pain. I should say I used to get. I don't have periods anymore, thank God in heaven, because it was the worst thing. I used to spend 2 days in bed every month with debilitating pain, taking extremely high levels of painkillers and anti-inflammatories just to function. So this felt like that. Not quite as bad as my normal period pain, but pretty bad. And I was like, oh, and I was also didn't know what was happening. There's a little water leaking out of my body. It was quite, a full, intense experience all by yourself. But I didn't want to wake up my dad because I knew that, he's 78. He's going to need his strength to drive me in the morning. Like, if I wake him up now, he'll be so tired when I have to drive there in the morning. I'm just going to let him sleep. So I let him sleep. I thought, I'm not going to wake up my housemate. He's going to freak out. He's a 30-something male. He won't know what to do. Let's just let them sleep. So I made this decision to let them sleep. So I just lay there. I could not fall asleep. I didn't actually get 1 wink of sleep that night. I couldn't fall asleep. I had these period cramps. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start packing my hospital bag. Look, I'm an extremely organized person, as those of you know who've watched my channel. I had been planning my hospital bag for like 6 months. And it was all there because I didn't know until only a few days before. I thought I might be having a vaginal birth. So I had a whole thing packed for like 5 days of labor and all of that. Plus I had my little cesarean bag and I thought, well, my borders are broken now. Maybe I am going to have a natural birth. Maybe I'm not going to have the cesarean because that was supposed to be next week. So I better take everything. So I had all my huge amount of stuff for a natural birth, decorating the room and candles, electric candles, and all the stuff you take, massage oil. My birth partners and massage me. Anyway, all that stuff. But there was a few things that you leave to the last minute, like your charging cables, food, things that you have to pack at the last minute. So I'm going around the house checking off my list because I'm a ridiculous list maker. It's 3 a.m. I'm moving like this slow elephant because I had these cramps and this giant tummy and I was like, oh, I'm in labor. I'm walking around the house trying to find charging cables. I mean, it's stupid when I think about it. I should have woken up my flatmate and said, can you get all this stuff for me? But I just was in this, I don't want to wake them up. I actually felt like it would be more stressful to deal with their anxiety than it will be just to slowly go about my business with this pain. And so it's crazy, but that's what I did. So I spent about an hour packing everything, getting everything ready, put it all by the door. Although I'm not going to carry it to the car, I'm just going to put it there. Anyway, so then I went back to lying down. I called the hospital a few more times. About every couple of hours I'd call the hospital. They say it's fine. I describe the situation. They say, you're okay. You're in very, very early labor. It's okay. You don't need to come in till the morning. Just rest. Try and sleep. Of course, I didn't sleep a wink. So then at 5 a.m, I finally thought, okay, it's time. I've got to go wake my dad. We've got to get going. It's an 1.25 hour drive there. And I was dreading the car trip because I really was having these really bad cramps. And I was constantly having to go to the bathroom. So anyway, I go into my dad's room where he's sleeping and knock on the door because, I don't normally wake him at 5 a.m. I normally wake him at 9 a.m. So I didn't want him to get a shock. So I'm like, hi, Daddy, sorry, I've just got to get something out of the room because I'm just packing some stuff. So I get some things out of the room. And I just talked really calmly and small talk with him while he woke up a bit. And I said, hey, just get up. I just want to tell you, I just want to talk about something with you. Sorry, I know it's early, but something's come up. I just want to talk about it with you. Just want to I'm grabbing a few things from the room. Towels and stuff. And I said, so I'm going to need you to get dressed because we're going to go on a little drive. My waters actually broke last night. We're going to go to the hospital. My dad's face, it like went white. Oh, it was the funniest moment because of course I'd spared him the whole night, but at this point I had to tell him. He was like, what? We're going what? This is how men handle birth. This is why I didn't wake them up. I didn't even wake my flatmate up at all. I said to my dad, let's not wake him up. Let's just quietly go. Everything's ready. You just, brush your teeth, get some food for yourself, do what you need to do, and in 10 minutes we're going to go to the hospital. So you put everything in the car, we get going. The poor man, he'd been practicing this drive. He doesn't live here. He doesn't know these roads, but he'd practiced it. We'd done that drive 2 or 3 times for my obstetrician appointments. So he knew the way, but what he wasn't prepared for was me every time I had what I was calling a contraction. I guess it was pre-labor, early labor version of contraction, which to me just felt like an intense period cramp for a few minutes. Then it would stop again. Every time one of those happened, I would stop, pull over, because I was finding the bumping in the car just making it worse. I just want to pause this story for 1 second just to tell you about something that might be helpful for you if you're watching this video. You're probably an older woman on the path to motherhood, or maybe you're doing this by yourself as a solo mother by choice. I just wanted to let you know that I have a lot of resources I've created that could help you. I have a website called mybabydream.club. I have a whole series of seminars with lots of tips and strategies to help you make your time as a solo mum and as a new mum easier. And I've also created a private online community where we have women from around the world who are on an unusual path to motherhood, and we all support each other in there, and we do face-to-face Zoom calls, and people do lots of posts, and we cheer each other on, and it's really beautiful. I'm on there every day, and I really engage one-on-one with everybody in the community and get to know everybody. So really looking forward to meeting you in there. Okay, I'll get back to the story now. Every time I had what I was calling a contraction, I would stop, pull over. So the poor man, he's on the freeway. It's like people, cars are zooming past. It's a big freeway with lots of cars. He's having to try and about every 20 minutes. It was so funny. And then to distract myself in the drive, because my dad was freaking out, some of you know I made a video a long time ago. I'll put a link here. Hopefully I'll remember to put a link here about my video that I made about my baby village. So I had created what I call a baby village on Facebook, with people supporting me through my solo mum fertility journey. And actually in the lead up to the birth, I had created a WhatsApp group because I knew that not everyone would be on Facebook, and I just wanted to be able to send messages on WhatsApp as the birth was unfolding so that people could be on. I called it my birth cheer squad. So I thought, I'm going to record a video to my birth and cheer squad telling them what's happening. So then they can all send me messages, and that will help me get through the next few hours. So we're driving the car. My dad's like this, gripping the steering wheel, and I'm like, hi guys, I think I'm in labor. My water broke. I'm on my way to the hospital. Send love, And at my belly blessing ceremony, which I had a few belly blessings, that's a whole other story. I had friends here and friends around the world agree that they would light a candle when I went into labor. So everyone was sending me messages saying, I'm lighting a candle for you, I'm thinking of you, it's 3 a.m. here in Los Angeles, or it's 7 a.m. here in Sydney, or they're all in different places that are all lighting candles. So that really, really, really helped me. And I say to a lot of the women who I coach and support on this journey, even if you can just get 3 people on your team, just try and get yourself a little cheer squad, because it's really important, especially at times like this, like when you're in labor. So we get driving, my poor dad. We get to the hospital. It's not an easy place to get a park. You got to park quite far away. It's a country hospital. It's not like there's a big, whiz-bang parking system. So I was desperate to get inside because I was feeling these terrible cramps. I got to get inside. And of course, we were in the middle of COVID. This was at the height of the COVID pandemic. You could not get in the hospital without wearing a mask, filling in forms, signing papers. It was like Fort Knox to get into this hospital. So I'm like, oh my God. So I'm trying to get inside the hospital. My dad's trying to find a park. I just said to him, I'm so sorry, I've got to leave everything outside on the curb. You're just going to have to bring it up. My poor old 78-year-old dad's going to have to bring up all my millions of bags I'd packed for the hospital. But I just had to get inside. I was desperate. So somehow I got inside. Somehow I got up. Somehow about 20 minutes later, he managed to get in with all the staff. So that was good. But it was hard because I had to say goodbye to him, because this is the thing. I can't remember how much I've shared about this, but all of this was happening at the height of COVID, and I wasn't allowed anyone in to my birth other than my one birthing partner, who is a friend of mine, Christina, I'll tell you about in a minute. But my poor dad, who'd come all the way to visit me from my home city, he wasn't allowed to even be in the hospital. He had to leave. So basically he dropped everything off and then he left. And I hadn't been able to get hold of my birth partner because, I wasn't going to wake her in the middle of the night. I tried to ring her at 5 a.m. when we left. I've been trying to contact her. So what I had done was in my WhatsApp group, I had said, because a few people know her, I'd said, can someone go around to her house and wake her up because I need her to come because I'm now going into labor. I need my birth partner. So thankfully, one of the women, she drove around to her house, but she lives nearby, and she woke her up. So at that point, I got a message from Christina saying she was on her way. It's okay. I'm bringing good food. Because the one thing we knew about this hospital is a really pokey country hospital. It has awful, awful food. Like it's like eating McDonald's or something. Like it's just terrible food. And I've just had gestational diabetes. I couldn't just eat a thing of pasta or a sandwich. I had to have proper food with protein and fat. Blood sugar stabilizing food. So she was going to bring me some food, and she's a very calming person. So I was really glad. So she came. So we were probably at the hospital by about 7. By about 9 a.m., my doctor finally showed up. And the thing is, it was his birthday. Oh my God, I'm going to have my baby on your birthday. It's so amazing. So he examined me, and my cervix was only dilated to number 1. And you give birth when it's at number 10. So he was like, you're at the very, 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 very beginning of labor. Everything's looking good. The baby was still scanning as ginormous. It was still scanning as being in the wrong position, but my cervix was relaxed. My water had broken. He said, look, his protocol is you need to be underway within 24 hours of your water breaking. Otherwise, infection can set in. So he wasn't just going to let me lie around for the next 3 days hoping labor would start. He said, if labor hasn't started within 24 hours, we will have to induce you, or you can choose to have the cesarean that we were going to do next week. So I had a whole day to decide. I thought, let's just wait and see. So we've got 24 hours. And as that day went on, I was finding it was a surreal day. I was finding it really challenging because I was having these intense, what I was calling period cramps. So they're like really extreme period cramps. But everyone kept telling me it's not real active labor yet. It's just early pre-labor. But to me, it just felt like extremely bad period cramps. And I would just break out in a sweat and I'd be lying on the table. I couldn't move. And the only thing that helped, just like when I had my actual period, the only thing that helped was sitting on the toilet. At this point, nothing was even left to come out, but it still was the only thing that helped me. So the whole day, I'm like, every 20 minutes, I'm going sitting on the toilet, reading my messages from friends, replying to people. Thank God I had this baby cheer squad. It got me through that day, I'm telling you. And then my birth partner, Christina, came at probably about 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock or something. And she came with all food and everything. She's really beautiful. She's an older woman. She's 20 years older than me. She's a very similar personality type to me. I feel really comfortable with her. She's extremely empathetic. So she was able to just sit with me and hold space. And what I need to do, I just need to share. I'm a sharer. As you can tell from my YouTube channel, I'm a sharer. So I just wanted to tell her everything that I'd gone through in the last 12 hours, the whole water breaking, not telling anyone, the drive to the hospital. I needed her empathy on all of that. So she really heard all of that, validated, empathized with all of that. And then we just had this weird day where I'm in the hospital, I'm in early labor, but literally nothing's happening. And every few hours, a nurse would come in and check on us, look at my tummy, measure something, look at something, do something, and then say nothing's really happening, and then go off again. And so we were just there by ourselves in this big hospital room, which is a birthing suite. There's a birthing pool, there's a birthing ball, and there's a birthing table and everything. And I'm just sitting on the bed, I'm lying down. At one point I had a nap, at one point Christina had a nap. We're talking through our options. I'm sitting on the toilet moaning, looking at text messages. This just went on all day. It literally went on all day. Like nothing happened. People talk about dramatic births. It was the calmest day. It was like a non-event. Honestly, I look back, like nothing happened the whole day. Just was in pain, and I wasn't, and I was in pain, and I wasn't. But it wasn't agony. It wasn't in labor. So this day was going on. My doctor came back, I think about 6 p.m., checked me again, still at number 1. Nothing has happened. So at this point, it was like, we're probably going to induce you in the morning. Now, pause at this point, because those of you who've watched my previous video, you know I was very comfortable with the cesarean. I was very comfortable with the natural birth, but the thing I was very reluctant to do was going down the path of induction. I know lots of people have done it. Maybe half the people watching this have done it. No judgment about it, but for me, I had so many friends who'd been induced, and then it had led to this cascade of intervention, like a 5-day labor, and it ended up in an emergency cesarean, that I knew that what can happen when you start taking all those hormones and the induction stuff, syntocin and whatever it's called, that starts your body doing these artificial contractions. And I just was like not up for that, because the thing is, I'm by myself with a newborn, and I did not want to be exhausted and destroyed from having gone through an ordeal for days and then had an emergency cesarean and everything that ends up happening. And I was really clear I didn't want to do that. So for me, the path was, let's see if we can get this happening and I'll do natural birth. Maybe if I have to take some epidural or painkillers or something, that's all right. But I didn't want to go down the whole induction route, or I will have the cesarean. So then my friend Christina and I really had a deep discussion for about 2 hours. I'd say it was from about 6 till about 8 or 5 till 7. It was something like that. It was a long talk of all the pros and all the cons of everything I knew about the situation, which was my baby was very big, apparently. Turned out she wasn't big, but every the scans were showing she was very big. She was in the wrong position. Nothing was happening with my labor. It could have taken days. They were going to have to induce me if it didn't start by tomorrow. I really didn't want to go through the whole induction thing. And then I started saying to her, why am I even considering this? Like, I was planning to have a cesarean anyway. I was booked in. I was completely at peace with having a cesarean on Monday. Why am I trying to go through this whole labor thing now? And I realized it was just because it had started. And I thought, okay, well, it's happening. I'll go with it. And I was listening to my body. But now it was stalled and my body was not going to do it straight away. So I was like, okay. And then I thought, what am I trying to prove? Why do I need to have a natural birth? I don't need to prove anything. I've already proved that at 48 I can have an easy pregnancy. This is all going well. Like, well, I don't have anything to prove here. Why? And then I suddenly realized, if I do this cesarean, I'm going to meet my baby in a couple of hours. And the thought of meeting my baby in a couple of hours trumped everything else. I was like, I could go through days of ordeal, or I could just meet my baby in a couple of hours. Everything's here. I was planning to do it anyway. I know all the information. I had everything set up with the anaesthetist. Like, it's like, oh my God, it just became clear. It was like an epiphany. I should just do this. All my support system are ready to cheer me on. Like, everyone's waiting for the message. I was just like, I'm just going to have the cesarean that I was going to have. And if I have it now, it's not an emergency cesarean. It's basically just like a planned cesarean. The only difference is I'm having some period cramps and I'm a little bit uncomfortable and I'm a bit, tired, but nothing like I would be if I had gone into real labor or had days and days of labor. It's not quite the same as being completely normal, just packing your car and going for a planned cesarean, but it's not that much different. At this point, I'm not exhausted. I'm not tired. I've had a lovely, quiet, restful day. All I've done is sit in a room and moan and text people and sit on the toilet and have some period cramps. Like, really, I'm actually okay right now. I have energy. So if 2 hours from now I'm holding a baby in my arms, I'll be able to look after that baby. If I go down the other route, who knows how I'll come out at the end. So it just seemed to me the obvious decision to just have the cesarean that I planned. And I was about 90% sure that was the right decision, but then a few things happened that really confirmed it was the right decision. So the first was my doctor, when I told him that, he said, you know what? I'm going to come and do it myself. I'm going to go out for my birthday dinner now because it's his birthday. And I'll come back after my birthday dinner. We'll do it at 9 o'clock. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I love this man. He's wonderful. He's delivered a bazillion babies. He's done lots of gentle cesareans. There's very few people in Australia that are experts at gentle cesareans. It's a totally different type of cesarean. I talked about it in my last video, which the video is in the description below, and I linked to it at the beginning of the video. He's an expert in gentle cesareans. He's had 5 kids of his own. He's the loveliest man, very funny, very calm, very similar to my father. They're both hilarious. And I feel very at ease with him because he reminds me of my dad. And I feel very safe with him. He's very open-minded. He's totally go with the flow. He would be happy for me to have a natural birth at 48. He was happy for me to do an induction. He's happy for me to cesarean. But he said, just save your pelvic floor, have the cesarean. Because, 48, there's risks in pushing a baby out for your pelvic floor. As it turned out, I don't know how much I've told you guys about this. I don't think I've done a video about it, but I do have a mild prolapse, even from this birth. Even though I didn't have a natural vaginal birth, I had a cesarean, I still ended up with a small prolapse. So I sometimes think, God, thank God I made that decision. Imagine if I had actually gone through a real proper labor and pushed a baby out. My prolapse would have been so much worse. I could have been completely debilitated by it. So I'm extremely glad I made this decision in retrospect. But at the time, I didn't know any of that. He just said, save your pelvic floor. And I thought, that's true. So we decided to go with the cesarean. So there's a photo my friend, my birth partner, Christina, took of me just before I got into the hospital gown to go into the cesarean. It's the last photo ever taken of me as a maiden. It's just me like, after this day of period cramps, knowing I'm about to go into this operation. But it's funny when I look at that photo because it's my last moments before I met Baby Star. My whole life changed. Oh, do I start crying? But the other thing that confirmed that I'd made the right decision was, remember I told you about the anaesthetist that I'd met when I'd gone in, the previous day to meet all the team, and he's this stodgy old man. I was like, I don't love the anaesthetist, but I guess I'll use him. So in walks this young chick. Instead of the normal hospital hat that they all wear, she had this really funky, colourful, interesting hospital hat, looked like an indigenous print or something. And she was full of spunk, had these interesting glasses on. She was full of spunk. She walked in and said, "Hi, I'll be your anaesthetist." And I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. She just was full of energy, full of joy, really spunky, really like full of life, and the sort of person my mum would have loved. My mum loved really quirky, individualistic people. And I was like, my mum would love this anaesthetist. That's a good sign. And over the course of the day, I'd had different midwives coming in to look after me. My personal midwife was not allowed in because remember, it was COVID. I couldn't bring anyone in except one person. That was Christina. So my midwife wasn't allowed in. So I was having all these different midwives. And there was only one that I'd really clicked with. I didn't really like any of the others. And just as I was about to get into the outfit and get wheeled into the cesarean, she comes back in, the one I love, says, "I'm back on duty now, so I'll be with you in the operating theatre." I was like, yes, I've got my amazing obstetrician, David. I've got this really interesting, quirky anaesthetist who I really like her energy. And I've got the one midwife I absolutely love. This is my team. I'm supposed to be doing this cesarean. I just knew this is going to be great. And it really was. They really were the most amazing team. So you get into your hospital gown. You just have to wear the white one that they give you. I'm lying on this gurney. They're wheeling me. And I'm having these cramps, remember, still every 20 minutes. I'm like, ugh. And, I was breaking into sweat each time. It was very painful. I mean, it was also quite disturbing that they kept saying to me, "Oh, this is nothing. Wait till you're in real labor." I mean, that's also probably on some level what pushed me into doing this cesarean, because I was so freaked out by them kept saying, playing down how much pain I was in. And it's like, oh, it'll be so much worse later. I was like, well, if that's going to be so much worse later, I'm not doing it, because this is bad enough what I'm experiencing now. Because my body is really super sensitive because I've had 20-something, 30 years of period pain. My pain receptors in my body are up to a million. They're like turned up high. My body plays up the pain. It doesn't play it down because of so many years of period pain. That's how pain wiring works. You become hypersensitive and pain receptors turn on more. So my pain receptors turn on more than other people's in that area because of my history of extremely bad period pain. So when they kept saying, "Oh, it's nothing, wait till you get in real labor," that did not help. That definitely pushed me also towards the decision to do this today. So anyway, they roll me into the room. I'm going to do the anesthetic. They're the most lovely team. They're all bantering with each other. These people have been working in a team for years, and I liked every single person, even the assistant nurse, the assistant anaesthetist. They were awesome. I was like, I can't believe the people that I've just through luck ended up being on at this shift. It was just amazing. And, there's a big needle about to go into your back to give you a big anesthetic so they can do the operation. And bloody scary, but they made it so fun, so relaxing. I just was really, really still. They put the needle in. They said, it's all perfect. It's good. They're putting it into your spine, so it's scary. But it was fine. And then I remember they rolled me in. I lay back down. They rolled me in to this room. And then it was really weird because then, I don't know, any of you have ever seen a cesarean, seen footage of it or been in one, but it's an operating theatre. It's like being in a spaceship. I'm lying there, the whole room's silver, metal, stainless steel, sterilized, everything's sterilized. The roof is like this stainless steel roof. I'm like, I'm giving birth in a spaceship. That's all I was thinking. And then, you're sort of cordoned off because there's this like big sheet in front of you so that you won't see them cutting your tummy open. And then you've got tubes in all your arms. You're lying there like this, and all you can see is the roof and about this much space in front of you. And like my birthing partner, Christina, there, who's telling me it's going to be okay. And I had the one moment of panic I've ever had in 48 years of my entire life. I've never had a panic attack. I've never had a moment like that. But I had a moment of absolute panic attack when I realized I couldn't feel anything under here. I couldn't feel, like I was completely numb. I did a stupid thing, which do not do this if you're ever in a cesarean. I tried to wiggle my toe. Do not try to wiggle your toe. It is terrifying. This feeling of I can't feel my toe. Oh my God, I can't feel my toe. I can't feel my legs. Oh my God, I can't feel my legs. Like we're wired to feel panic and we can't feel our body. It was horrific, and it only lasted a few seconds. And I calmed myself down, but I will never forget that. And from that moment, I've always had so much empathy, even more than I already had for people who are paraplegic, quadriplegic. It's the most awful feeling to not be able to feel whole parts of your body. My heart goes out to them. I only experienced it for a few minutes, an hour or so, but imagine living like that. I mean, oh my God, it was such a glimpse into their world, and my heart was just broken for those people. I felt so sad. I remember lying on the table just thinking, oh my God, imagine being paraplegic. This is awful. But then I reminded myself, it's just an anesthetic. It's not real. Ignore it. Just do not try to wiggle your toe again. And I absolutely forbade myself from trying to wiggle my toe. So then I noticed that the music was playing. As we were wheeling down, my obstetrician said, "You've got a playlist for me." I said, "I do. Let's transfer it to your phone." So he put it on his phone. I think baby Star's just woken up. Oh my God. Write it down. Okay, she's in a nappy, so I can't let her be seen on video because she's not wearing any clothes other than her diaper. So I'm just going to pause the video, put some clothes on her, and then I'll come and I'll tell you the last little bit. Because the last little bit's when I met her. Oh my goodness. Okay, I've got clothes on her. She's looking at my pregnancy journal. It's really appropriate that she's just woken up for this last little bit because I'm about to share the moment when I met her. So it's the moment when I met you. What to do with the moment when I met you? I'm too busy looking at the book, but oh my God. So I had this playlist. I'd handed it to him. This beautiful music's playing. And they really were treating it as a sacred procedure. They weren't chit-chatting amongst themselves. Like everyone was quiet. The lights were dimmed. You know, my birth partner, Christina, was holding my hand. She had her the camera ready on my phone to take photos. And I thought it was going to be another half hour till they do it. And all of a sudden they go, "She's about to come out." And I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't feel anything. I have no idea he had cut my tummy open. Like, you can't feel anything. I got such a shock. I was like, what? When are they going to do the whole thing? Oh, they've done it? Oh my God. Baby's wriggling out. So then suddenly they're holding her up. I didn't see it, but I saw a photo of it later. But then they passed her over the top of the big tent thing and passed her to me. And I met you. I met you, sweetie. I met you. I met her. She was, you know, they go, "Oh, my baby's the most beautiful thing." No, she wasn't. She's the most beautiful thing now. But she came out, her face was all squashed from the position she'd been in my tummy. Everything was swollen. She had black hair all over her head and black hair all over her forehead. She looked like a baby Klingon. I was like, I've given birth to a Klingon. But in that moment, I knew how much I was going to love this child because I did not care that my baby looked like a Klingon. I mean, later on, she's ended up being the cutest, prettiest little child. But she wasn't in that moment. And I was just like, it's not my genetics. I have no idea how this baby's going to look. It's a donor egg. It's donor sperm. It's come out looking like a Klingon. I don't care. I was so in love with this little Klingon. I was so in love. They passed her to me. I just put her straight down. She went straight. She found my boobs straight away. She completely found my nipple. She just started pulling. I just remember looking down at this face. Her face was like this big. Your face was this big with this tiny little face. This little face. And I just was completely in love. I was just completely in love. The photos of me that were taken, I looked so happy. I had all this light of love and joy and awe on my face. Like I looked radiant. I look back at those photos, I'm like, oh my God, in the middle of an operating theatre, I can't feel my body. I've had a day of period cramps. I've had no sleep. And yet I looked radiant. And it's because I was in such an absolutely divine state of joy. I don't know how else to describe it. I was so happy. This little tiny little person on my boob. It was just the biggest miracle. I couldn't believe it. She was bright red. And then, you know, they take her off you just for a second to just check all the vitals. And they have this thing called the AGPAS score, which is out of 10. And I think she got a 9 on one and a 10 on the other. And they're like, perfect, everything's perfect, she's fine. And then because everything was perfect, they didn't have to do anything to her. So they just, you know, they had her on me. I think I skipped a bit where they cut the cord, but because it's a gentle cesarean, they cut the cord at the last minute. So they let a lot of her blood come to her from the cord and the placenta, which is really good, like in a natural birth. They didn't just cut the cord straight away. Anyway, so she's on me, and then they just left her on me. Like, that was it. She was on me for the next however many hours. It was amazing. They wheeled me out to the next room. It's like a holding room. It was just me and her on my chest and Christina, and I was just in this, I was in a state of absolute ecstasy. I really was. At the same time, the anesthetic started to wear off. When the anesthetic was starting to wear off, my whole body was having these like little trembles and convulsions, but I didn't even notice because I was so ecstatic. I remember just FaceTiming my dad and showing the baby. Christina was there. It was just so beautiful. And then, and I forgot two amazing things. The moment when she came out, the song that came on the playlist was the most beautiful, perfect song. It has the lyrics, "The power of love is here now. The power of love is here now. The power of you and me to create magic on earth is here now." I mean, it's just the most beautiful song. It was a new song. I'd only discovered it a few weeks previous, and I'd been playing it around the clock, and I had 10 songs on that playlist, and that was the one as she came out of my tummy. The power of love is here now. And then the bit that really makes me cry is the placenta. You know, they pull out this big slab of meat. It's a placenta. Sometimes it can be a bit round or a bit sort of heart-shaped. it came out a perfect heart. I mean, everyone in the operating theatre was exclaiming at this placenta. They were like, oh my God, people were taking photos of it. It literally, I won't put a photo up on YouTube because it is still a piece of my body, but it, or her body or whatever, someone's body, one of our bodies, our combined bodies, it was a perfect, beautiful heart. So the song "The Power of Love Is Here Now" is playing. This perfect heart placenta was, everyone was like, my birth partner Christina, all the staff, the anaesthetists, my doctor, everyone was like, this is unbelievable. And she's just pure love. Everyone who's ever seen her on YouTube said she's the sweetest thing. Everyone who's ever met her, she is pure love. She's been the greatest joy to look after for the last 2 years, and the power of love really did come into the world that day, and I'm very grateful. I knew I would cry. I'm crying now when I'm telling that story, that bit of the story, because it's really moving. And obviously a lot happened after that, but that's just the actual birth story. The very short summary of what happened after that is I spent 4 days in hospital. She was a really good baby. She was a really good sleeper. It took a while for my milk to come in, and she started to get a bit of jaundice, so it was a bit touch and go there for a few days. Was my milk going to come in time, or will
Don't press mommy.
Don't press mummy. No, that's a photo, not a video. She's looking at the video of me that I took on the way to the hospital. I put a picture of it in. Don't press mummy because it's just a photo. So it took 4 days for my milk to come in. But it came in just in the nick of time. They were literally saying, look, she's got jaundice. We have to put her on formula. And then my milk came in. So it was good. And all I'll say about the 4 days in the hospital is that they were absolutely beautiful. People say, oh, it's so awful being in the hospital. No, I was just in a state of joy and ecstasy and awe and shock and just gratitude. And I just had the whole 4 days looking at this little miracle in my arms, just going, can't believe I have this baby. Because, at 48, when you're single, it didn't work with my own eggs, I've used donor eggs. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, it's so unlikely to work. And it was just a miracle. And actually, you know what? Doing it in a hospital ended up being the biggest blessing because I knew nothing about babies. I didn't even know how to change a diaper. Like, I knew nothing. And it was like a crash course for 4 days because, you're in the hospital. Every 6 hours, I had a different nurse come in to check on me, check on the baby. I didn't get any sleep those first few days, but every time a nurse would come in, they'd have a different technique of swaddling or a different technique of diapers or a different technique to stop her crying. And I learned so much. It was just like 4 days crash course in how to look after a baby, almost to the point where I had a bit of panic when I first got home. I was like, hang on, the bassinet's not the same as the one at the hospital. I've been learning it, how they do it at the hospital. How am I going to do it? And then I just actually had some sleep. And then it seemed totally fine. And after that one sleep when I got home, then I was completely fine. I looked after her fine. It's been very easy ever since. But at this one moment when I got home from the hospital, like, oh my God, the bassinet's different than the one at the hospital. But the point of that story is that the time in the hospital was actually really good. And I know a lot of people can be so freaked out about giving birth in a hospital, but if you've got good nurses, it's actually a great time to just soak up lots of learning like a sponge about babies because they were lovely and they really helped. And I learned a lot. And so that was the miracle of how this little angel came into the world. Honestly, it was a surreal few days. The whole thing was very calm. My day in the hospital leading up to the cesarean was a very calm, quiet day. Like the whole thing was exactly what I'd wanted, which was calm and no drama. Yes, it didn't unfold the way I expected because I didn't just have my planned cesarean. But the positives of the way it happened with the water breaking and the rush to the hospital and everything was that my one concern about having a baby by planned cesarean was, what if my child is not ready to come? And we've picked this arbitrary day at 39 weeks and they're not ready to come. So my mind was at ease because my waters broke. She was obviously ready to come. And it meant that when my waters broke, a lot of the hormones, the hormonal process of giving birth got started. So I had a lot of the hormones. That probably helped the breastfeeding to kick in, that I had, a bit of that labor. I had the day of that labor, the day of all those hormones. I'm sure all of that really helped. She's gone and got herself water from the fridge and now some food from the cupboard. Do you want to eat a bar? You want a bar? What's a bar? So I actually think it was really great that it happened the way it did because I always would have had this one niggling doubt, like, was my baby really ready to come at 39 weeks? Should I have waited till longer? So that was a big blessing. She's very, very clever. That's the birth story in full detail. I'm sorry it took so long to tell. Oh, Mummy just told the story of how you came into the world. It was such a miracle. It was such a miracle. It's the best moment of my entire life, other than every single moment since you've been born, which is even better. But until then, that was the best moment I ever had in my whole life when I saw your little Klingon face. Your little Klingon face, which just turned into Shirley Temple. So on that note, I will leave you with a beautiful story. I don't know if it will inspire anyone or just let you know that if you have to give birth in a hospital, it doesn't have to be bad. It can actually be beautiful. And over here, I will stick a video that will be helpful for you if you are on the solo mother path or if you're having birth at an older age. So see what that video is and enjoy it, and hopefully it helps you. And I'm looking forward to sharing more with you in my next video. Bye!